You guys know I love podcasting and listening to podcasts, and I'm guessing if you're listening to this that you love podcasts too. Have you ever considered podcasting yourself? It is a great way to reach your audience, grow your know, like and trust factor, and not need to show your face unless you want to. If it is something you've thought about but you don't know where to start, then head over to becomeapodcaster.uk/BAP quiz, BAP quiz, to access a 2-minute quiz that will help you work out what type of podcast might suit you. That's becomeapodcaster.uk/BAP quiz. You're listening to the Wedding Procast UK, the place to be if you are a UK wedding professional looking to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade, 10-year wedding photography veteran and CEO at the Society of Professional Wedding Vendors. If you want to grow and streamline your business, this is the podcast for you. Make sure you hit subscribe where you listen or join our email list at www.spwv.co.uk. You'll find the sign up form at the bottom of every episode, and by doing so, you won't miss a thing. So let's jump into today's show. To the podcast, everybody. My name is Donna. I am your host, and today we are talking about taking stock. But before we get there, if you haven't already, then please hit the subscribe button where you listen so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if this is an episode you think one of your colleagues could hear, then definitely share it with them. Share it on social, tag me, Donna SPWV, so that I can share you in my stories, and we will get this episode out to as many people as possible because I think it is an important one. So today we're talking about taking stock. So first of all, we are in the third quarter of 2022, guys. Can you believe that we are already in the third quarter? It is deep into our busiest season, and I hope that you are having a season that is definitely making up for the last few that we have had. I know that I did my final wedding just 2 Fridays ago as I'm recording this, and it was bittersweet. It really was. I am now going to be selling my camera so that I can't be coerced into doing any more wedding photography, but I absolutely loved it. It was such a joy, and it was so lovely to do it for people who I consider friends. So that was wonderful. However, I know that you guys are out there and you're out probably every weekend, if not midweek as well, with more midweek weddings taking place. So it can be difficult in this time to stop and take stock, but that's what I want to urge you to do this month. So it's a busy season, but where are you on your goals? It is so important to reflect on what's working and what's not, especially when we are in our busy season, because it is so easy to just sort of put your head down, blinkers on, go for it, get this wedding done, check that off, next wedding, check that off, next wedding, check that off, and you don't stop to actually evaluate your business in that time. And I can understand why it gets so hectic and why this is the case for many a wedding vendor. However, I think it is really important, if you can take a day to do this, it will be well worth your time and effort. So set aside a day, grab your goal book, grab your favourite cuppa and curl up somewhere comfy. Now, nobody said that you had to be uncomfortable when you're reviewing your business. And I think actually, if you can take yourself outside of your office, even if it is to your living room on your favourite chair, or if it is completely out of your house or out of your workspace, this can really help because it stops you getting distracted. If you can turn off those notifications on your phone, it is one day, it is an 8-hour period, probably not even going to take you 8 hours in all honesty, but just give yourself that time, that undistracted, is that a word? That time to really focus in on your business rather than working in it. So the definition of insanity, guys, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, in our businesses, there is an argument that can be made that giving something a fair trial before judging it is important. And that is very truthful. But if you haven't seen any movement in the right direction for something, then it might be time to try something new. This would depend on what it is that you're actually talking about, because obviously marketing strategies take time to start working, so you might find that some things need longer than others to trial. You may have decided to change up your branding. That can take some time to see whether that's working for you or not. So there's lots of different things that are going to take different time. So for example, with Facebook ads, Facebook's algorithm doesn't start working for 3 days. So they always say that you should start with a sort of set amount of money, and they usually want sort of at least £5 to £10 a day going on your Facebook ads, doing that for at least 3 days, and then you start to see whether it's working or not. So you've got to lay out upwards of £30 before you're going to actually see whether it's working, and then you have to actually give it some time to see if it's going to work. So I would say that with Facebook, you're going to be looking at least 7 days before you can say, okay, this is starting to work or it's not working. But you definitely don't want to be leaving something like that running without checking it, because that is a very big expense that could be costing you a lot of money and not giving you any return. Print ads, on the other hand, it's even longer. So the magazines will say, especially if they're a monthly magazine, they will say that you need to have your ad in there for 3 months before you start to see some sort of traction on it, because it's part of that getting you seen by the same person 3 times. And you've all heard that before you get a customer to even think about buying from you, they've got to have 7 touch points. So, a print ad, this is only going to work if they get the magazine every month as well. So it's a little bit harder to gauge whether it's actually working or not. And print ads are quite expensive. But when you compare it to a Facebook ad, it might not be as expensive. However, you're going to be able to tell with a Facebook ad much quicker if it's working for you than with print ads. And print ads, I always say, is more of a brand awareness campaign than it is bringing customers in. So you really need to think about what it is that you want out of what you're doing, so that you can judge whether it's working for you or not. We can go years doing the same things because they worked in the beginning, but they might not be working now. So have a look at some of your processes, the way that you are using your systems in your business. Is it working for you still? Because I know for me that I implemented things like my calendar blocking, like my Calendly service to book appointments. Things like this are things that I have brought into my business to make it easier, because what I had before wasn't working. So for example, the back and forth of, yes, I can meet with you, not a problem. When are you free? And the other person coming back going, well, I've got next week at this time or the following week at that time. And me going back and going, oh, I can't actually do any of those times, but I can do this time and that time. And the back and forth, guys, it drives me insane. Sending somebody your Calendly link and saying, here's all my availability, choose a time that's convenient for you, is so much easier, quicker, and saves everybody so much time. So look at your systems and your processes that you have in your business. Are they still working for you? Are they still efficient? Now, you may be sitting there thinking, well, Donna, I don't know if they're still efficient. It's just what I've always done. It's how I've always done it. I can highly recommend talking to a business bestie if you want to know whether there is time-saving things you can put in place. So the business bestie I'm talking about is Carly Wall. She was on the podcast. I will link her episode in the show notes, but she can go through your business processes with you and tell you if there is an app that's going to make that easier, if there is a system you can put in place that's going to save you time. And I don't know about you. I'm not somebody who particularly likes change, but I do like to save myself time. So just because you've done it one way for however many years doesn't mean you have to continue doing it that way. And getting in touch with somebody like Carly who can sit there with you, go through everything and go, okay, what you're doing there, that's probably the best solution for you and your business. Might not be the best solution for everybody, but then with this, that, and the other, you could actually save yourself time doing this, using this app. And it may be that you have tried something, but the app that you use you didn't like and you couldn't get on with it, so you stopped doing it. But she may well have alternative apps that you like better that could help you save time. So you definitely need to look at everything that you're doing in your business, how it's actually working, how those systems are working. Is it smooth? Is it seamless? Is it automated? The more you can automate, the easier your life becomes, especially if you're a solopreneur. So we spoke about Facebook ads. Are they still working for you? So if you have got a Facebook ad running, is it doing what it needs to do? So you could have had an ad that was working really well in the beginning, delivering over 100 leads a month, for example, and then all of a sudden it's dropped down to 60 a month. Is it still worth your time and effort, or do you need to change it up? So, 60 leads may still be good. If you're converting 1 in 10, then that's still 6 new customers to you, but it's no longer 10 new customers. So is it worth tweaking it? Is it worth changing up the graphic? Is it worth changing up the wording? Have a look at that ad. See if you can retarget people that have been shown the ad before with a retargeting ad, because you might be able to pick up some of those people that have seen it before but didn't buy with a new ad that's got a different graphic and a different copy that is just going to entice them in. Make sure the branding is there so they're like, oh, I've seen that brand before, because that will give them confidence in you. But change up the content so that it's new and fresh, and it might be something that just attracts them more than the other one. But those are some things that you really need to keep an eye on, because Facebook ads, it is so easy once it's set up just to leave it, because it can be such a headache to actually get it going that you just want to set it and forget it. But that isn't always the best option. So keep an eye on what's coming through on your Facebook ads. If you haven't got a lead generating Facebook ad going on, then I would highly recommend having a code that people have to give you if they found you through your ad, so that you can track that. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So let's have a look. How are you actually tracking your goals? Do you have a workbook that you are working through, that you are checking in with on a regular basis? Do you just set your goals at the beginning of the year, shove them in a drawer, never look at them again, come back at the end of the year and go, oops, missed that one? This is why it's important at least once a quarter to pick up your goal book and see where you're going. I would say it's a monthly thing. You should be doing this once a month, taking a day just to review how well you're doing on your goals. The more often you review your goals, the more likely it is that you are going to be able to hit your goals, because you're going to be able to pivot quicker. You're going to be able to see what's working, what's not, and change things up so that you can work towards those goals better. So have a look at your financial goals. Are you hitting the mark there? Is there something that you need to do? Are your expenses as tight as they can be? Have you looked at different suppliers for different things? Have you looked at what you are actually sending out on automatic payment each month? Is that still relevant? I know I have recently gone through my automated payments and changed a few things and cut back on some of the expenses there that just weren't necessary for my business. But I've also added things. So some of you may well know that Zoom now does not give you ultimate time if you are one-to-one with somebody on Zoom, which is what they were doing during the pandemic. You could be on with one other person and you could talk all day if you wanted to. Well, now that's cut down to the 40-minute limit that they had if it was more than 2 people on the call. So now if you want to be able to speak more than 40 minutes, you have to pay. That's important for me because I do podcast interviews and I don't want to be shoehorned into trying to get my podcast done from beginning to end in 40 minutes, including saying hello to the person and thanking them for coming on the show and then saying goodbye at the end. It's not what I want to do. I want to be able to give you guys good quality content and a good interview, and I don't want that pressure of time there, and I don't want the interviewee to feel that pressure either. So I now pay for Zoom so that I can have that time. But there were other things in my business that I wasn't using or wasn't using enough to warrant paying for it. So I've cut those out. So definitely take a look at that, because it's not just about how many customers you're getting in that are paying you. It's about what you're paying out for as well. So just check that, especially at the moment with all of the prices in our sort of personal realm being ridiculously high. I can see where business expenses might start to have a knock-on effect as well. So just check on that. And then, like I was saying earlier about the ads, you need to be able to measure whether your ads are actually giving you return for your money. So having a code on your ads that is different for each ad you're running, wherever it is. So if you've got a magazine ad, then maybe it's in Brides magazine, for example, then Brides 22 might be your code that they need to give you. And it is good to give them an incentive for giving you this code. So make an inquiry with me, give me the code Brides22 to be entered into my monthly draw to win a hamper, whatever it is, that it doesn't need to be an incentivized thing. People don't generally just give you a code if it's not going to give them something in return, 10% off, a freebie, something like that. So have a code on every ad that you run that is specific to that ad and that placement. So for example, Facebook might be Facebook 22, and I'm just using 22 as the year so that I know what year it is that these codes were used. You can have your own system for naming your codes, but you need to be able to track how many people are actually coming to you from those ads and then how that is moving forward. Other marketing returns, are you going on podcasts? Are you giving out a freebie in those podcasts? Are you going into people's groups? Are you giving out a freebie there? You need to be able to track where these people are coming from so that you can see whether they're actually turning into customers and what's working good for you. So it may be that you're going on a lot of podcasts and you give out a freebie and you just give a separate link. So you can do it in Bitly, I think. You could certainly do it on your own website where you would do a URL and just have multiple landing pages for the same freebie, but have it so that the URL is related to that podcast that you're on. So for example, if you came onto the Wedding Procast UK and were to give a freebie, you might say, I'm just going to say your Angela's Photography. So you go to angelasphotography.com/WPC UK to pick up your freebie. And then you would know how many people are coming through to that page in your Google Analytics. You'd be able to see how many people came through from this podcast. And you could do it this, or you could just do it for podcasts if you wanted to break it down into a bigger thing. So any podcast you go on, it would be Angela's Photography/podcast, and that would take them through to the freebie that you're giving away on podcasts. And then you might have a different one for Facebook groups. So if you go into a Facebook group and do a talk and you say, hey, I've got this freebie for you, head to Angela's Photography/Facebook group, and it will take you right through to it. And you'll just be able to monitor how many people are landing on that page. And then, of course, you can see the correlation in the number of people that are actually downloading your freebie. So things like that just help you to track your metrics. And it's really important to be able to track these numbers so you can see whether it's working, because like we said earlier, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So one of my metrics is my views and watch minutes and downloads for my podcast. Well, my podcast downloads are doing really well. The videos are not doing well. So it's not enough for me to keep putting the videos up on the YouTube channel. So I have now, today, this episode will not be going on the YouTube channel, but I will be uploading interviews to the YouTube channel because I have to do that through Zoom anyway. So the video is there. So my interview ones will go up on YouTube, but my solo shows won't, because it's not worth the time and effort it takes me to make the video and make that worthy of going up on YouTube to have it not do anything. So my metrics on YouTube are showing me that people really aren't there watching it. I have consistent numbers, but it's very low, that it makes it not worth the time that I'm putting into it to do that. So you need to really, and sometimes you have to be strict. Like, I feel bad for those people that are watching it on YouTube. I'm hoping that they're not so much watching it as just listening to it, so that they will come over and listen on the podcast. But it is difficult. It's a difficult choice to make because there are consistent listeners, but it's not enough for me to spend that extra time creating the video for it. So you need to look at what you're doing, how much time it's taking, and whether that return on your time investment is worth it as well. So what about your inquiries to meetings, to conversions? Are you tracking that? What does that look like right now? Are you getting enough inquiries in the front door? And then how many of those inquiries are converting to meetings, and how many meetings are converting to customers? Where is your biggest fall off there? Is it inquiries to meetings or meetings to conversions? Because that's going to tell you what you need to focus on. Is it something in the meetings that you're not doing that you could do better, that will convert more people? Or is it something that is on your website? Is there some copy that needs changing? Are there images that need changing to make it more enticing for people to actually call you for a meeting in the first place? So that is an important thing to look at. So lastly, we are going to look at something that you know is so important to me, and it is your work-life balance. So you're looking at your goals and that's all working, but your mental health and how you are functioning is also an important part of your business. It is no good if you are heading into this high season with no strategy for how you're going to cope, because burnout is real. And if it's going to come, high season is when it's going to hit, and you do not need to be taken down like that. Burnout can manifest itself in physical illness, not just, oh, I'm really tired and I'm struggling, but actually, you know, I've now got a full-on cold. I've got flu-like symptoms. I feel awful. I can't function. I can't get out of bed. You do not need that during your wedding season. So weekends are kind of, you know, off the map during high season because you are going to be working, but you need to take time off. You need to have some downtime. So look at booking a couple of days off in the week. So you've still got 3 days that you can use for your admin tasks, for following up, for making sure that everything is ready for the weddings that you've got coming up, but you've got a couple of days where you're taking time off. This can be difficult, but definitely contact your clients and let them know. During July and August, I take Mondays and Tuesdays off, and I will not be responding to emails in that time, phone calls or text messages, unless your wedding is within a 7-day period. Because if it's further out than 7 days, you know that you've got time to manage that as soon as you get back to your desk, and you're going to be back to your desk in 3 days. So if their wedding is within the 7 days, you may find yourself needing to answer them quite quickly. But if it's longer than 7 days, you're going to be back at your desk in time to help and solve any issues. So just put their mind at rest there, but tell them that on those days you're not going to be responding, and that you're only checking emails once a day, so it may take longer to get back to them. I would say that the issue is that when you are at home, it is so easy to just go, well, nobody else is home. It's Monday, it's Tuesday, the partner's at work, the husband's at work, the girlfriend's at work, the kids are at school, or you don't have kids. So there's nobody at home, and it's like, well, what am I going to do? I might as well just work. And therein lies the problem, because that I'll just do some work is what is going to lead to the burnout. You need to take time off so that your creative mind has the space to grow, to breathe, to refresh. And if you're constantly working, it's not having that. So I would say that if you can, and these don't have to be expensive trips, but consider booking some short trips away, like just an overnight stay, maybe 2 nights where you are going to go and stay elsewhere. Even possibly going and visit family that maybe older family that don't work, retired, go and stay with them overnight, just to get you out of your workspace. If you work from home, it's a little bit easier if you work in an office space where you can be at home and your work's not right there in front of you. But consider taking those little breaks. You don't have to do that every week. Obviously, that would get expensive, but try a few during high season where you just do an overnight stay somewhere in the middle of the week or at the beginning of the week, so that you can just decompress, chill out, take some time, and breathe and just do something for yourself, because your mind needs that time where it's distracted from work, where you're doing other things. So for me, one of the things that I used to do when things were getting a bit too much for me and getting on top of me was I actually used to go to Ilkley. So I live in Northamptonshire. Ilkley is 3 hours away from me. I would drive up there. I would stay in this pub hotel. I still love it. I still go, but I would go by myself, absolutely all by myself. No issue with doing that at all, and have a 1 or 2 night break there and then drive home. I love driving, so the 3-hour drive there and back was absolutely not a problem for me. I really enjoyed that drive up the A1, and I would love spending time there because it's so different from where I live. It's beautiful, fresh air, just so much peace and quiet. And I would take a good book. I would not take my laptop. And I would just chill out, and it would let me unplug. And so if you can do that, if you can find somewhere cheap, like, me and my other half, I said, we need a break. You haven't taken your holiday. I haven't taken my holiday. We need to get away. And because of COVID and everything like that, we haven't been abroad. We would usually go abroad once or twice a year, and we haven't done that. And that's when we would book, when you've booked your time. Well, we haven't done that. So now we are looking at, where can we go in the UK just for a cheap getaway? And we have booked a caravan. Now, I haven't been on a caravan holiday in, I can't even count how many years. It's not since my daughter was a toddler, and she's 21 now. But I used to love going and staying in the caravan parks on the holiday parks in a static caravan. So we are going to go and stay in a static caravan for 4 nights. We're doing it before the schools break up. So we actually got it at a really good bargain price. And we're going to go and enjoy our time on the East Coast. And the park that we're staying at has a direct walk straight onto the beach, which is what I want. I want to be able to go and see the sand. I want to go and see the sea. And one of the things I loved about the place where we stayed when we went to Playa Blanca in Lanzarote was that it was a 5-minute walk down to the beach, and we walked the beach every day. So I'm very excited about being able to go to the beach every day. I absolutely love the water. And that's a 4-day break, and we are going to be completely switched off from work. And I think we both need it. So that is the plan, and that is actually happening next week. So I have got a podcast that's going to go up next week, but it is going to be pre-recorded, obviously, and will come out to you guys as planned. But I am not going to be here next week. I am going to be taking a break. So today we have looked at taking stock and looking at your goals for 2022. We talked about recognizing when it's time to change what you're doing and when things are going well. We talked about what your goals are and how you're tracking them. And we talked about balancing life in the high season to avoid burnout. I hope that has helped you have a little think about what you are doing with your time during this high season. Please make make sure you are drinking your water, staying hydrated and looking after yourself. If you would like to see where you are on your client attraction journey, then I have a quiz for you. It is over at spwv.co.uk/quiz. Go ahead, take it. It's 4 questions. It's going to tell you where you are in your client attraction journey and then tell you what you need to do for your next steps to increase those clients coming in. So especially if your issue is getting inquiries in or you're finding that your meetings aren't converting, this quiz is especially going to be good for you. So head over to spwv.co.uk/quiz and take that quiz and let me know where you are on your client journey in the comments. Don't forget to check the show notes for Carly's information, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.